Here is the lineup, folks, for the fourth in a series of Fide Grand Prix tournaments. This one being played in Conti Mesquite from May 14th through the 26th. Look at this lineup. Fabiano Caruana, rated over 2,800, representing Italy, soon to represent the United States. And I'll make a point here this fall, I guess, that he can change over to the U.S. He has dual citizenship. Out of the top 10 players in the world now, America represents 3 of them, since Wesley So from the Philippines switched his federation to the U.S. Number 2, my buddy, Carl Nakamura, almost 2,800. He went over the 2,800 mark about a month and a half ago. Great player. I expect a lot of good things from a Carl. His chance to get in the candidates final, huge deal. Third, Alexander Grishuk, I think incredibly underrated. You don't hear a lot about Alexander, but I'll tell you, he's a top player. Young Anish Giri from the Netherlands, another one to watch out for. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave from France, another great player. Sergei Karyakin, oh my God, another great player. Thomas Eski, who I believe is leading in points so far in the Grand Prix series, another great player. Boris Gelfand, older but still got the guns. World Championship challenger against Vishy Anand, lost in a tiebreak. Jakovenko, another great player. Peter Fiddler, really interesting guy, another great player. We'll see which Peter shows up. If the good Peter shows up, he can be really tough. A guy I like personally, Dominguez from Cuba, another great player. When he's playing on, he's on. And a really exciting player, Jobava from Georgia. You never know what the hell Jobava is going to do. The games are always fun to watch. And there's the lineup, folks, of the final Grand Prix tournament to determine the candidates to be in the final tournament to play for the World Championship. Don't miss any of the action. This is going to be great. And here it is, folks, the fourth Grand Prix Series tournament for the candidates final to play Magnus Carlsen for the World Championship. My buddy from the U.S., Carl Nakamura, is in it. Don't miss any of the action. This is going to be a great tournament. Hi, folks. John Cordisco back again. Round 2 of the fourth in a series of Grand Prix tournaments leading up to the candidates final. And the winner of that plays Magnus Carlsen for the World Championship. It's a hell of a game here, folks. As white, Dominguez from Cuba, great player. And Dmitry Jakovenko as black, another great player. Let's get to it. Dominguez is white, Jakovenko is black. It's going to be a Catalan. Let's go through the opening a little bit. We don't study too much opening theory here. A4. You know, I'll tell you the truth. I've been meaning to play D4 for a long time for white, so maybe the Catalan. It looks. I like it. It's simple. It's straightforward. B4, bishop, castles, queen C2, queen E7. Okay, pretty good. That's the last book move according to the computer. And A5 is by Dominguez. Now let's go back here, being that's the last book move. See what the computer liked. Computer liked bishop G5, which I do as well, pinning that knight on F6. But A5 is the choice of the computer, not by much. Knight to E4, bishop G5, A5 are all basically the same score. A5, locking that bishop in. E5, opening up right away. Rook to D1. Black's got to do something with that white A pawn, so he goes A6. But the only thing I don't like about that is, of course, this backward pawn here. But it's not too much of a problem right now. D5. Knight C5 for Jakovenko. Bishop B3. Knight B3. Here he goes. He's right down the heart of white's queen side. I mean, look at all these pieces here. 3 black pieces all the way down, and we're only on move 13. Now, I'm sure these guys have seen this position before. This looks like a weird move, but it is a choice of the computer. Rook to A4. C5. Computer wanted an interesting line. H6, knight takes, bishop takes, knight takes, knight takes, bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes. That was the computer line. After c5, d6, chasing the queen off, queen e8, rook takes the bishop, pawn takes the rook, knight to d5. Now technically, black's got a rook and a pawn for a bishop. But after knight takes, rook takes, knight to d4, believe it or not, right now, even though white is down the exchange, it's up over a point advantage. This is a very, very weird and interesting position. I mean, look at the position of this rook. He's in a strange spot already, and we're only on move 18. All kinds of imbalances going on here. Look at the 1, 2, 3, 4 pawns on the queen side against 2. This is wild already. Instead of knight to d4 though, e4 was a computer suggestion. After knight to d4, knight takes, rook takes. I like that a little better. The rook's in a dark square, so it can't be harassed because black doesn't have a dark squared bishop. It still holds the d pawn. That might have been a better way to go. After knight to d4, bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes. Okay. Black's up the exchange, but it's still an even game. How is black going to move that b pawn? It's going to be interesting to see how this works out. Black will eventually want to go here. If it's taken in passant, this pawn will run. If it's not taken in passant, he'll have 1, 2, 3 pawns bearing down. So this is going to be interesting. b3, get those pawns down there. Queen takes, sacrifices that pawn. Bishop to e6, queen to d3. Computer shows it as even, but those of you keeping score, there's a knight and a pawn for a rook. So let's see what Dominguez has up his sleeve here as white. This is usually the part of the game, even when I'm doing videos or my own personal games. It's about move 22. We're halfway through the game roughly. What would you do here as black? What is your plan? What's your plan as white? I think my plan for black would try to get this pawn down here. Maybe go after this pawn here. But you got a light squared bishop, so that's going to be tough. Then you got to worry about white's passed d pawn. So there's a lot going on here for both sides. This knight is ready to jump in at any time. This bishop's going to start getting real strong. Computer's got it as dead even. The next 3 moves. Queen to c6. Queen to d2, just backing down. Rook a to c8. Well, black's plan is very clear. He's going to try to get the queen down here. Get this pawn passed. d7 is the choice of the computer. And I'll go along with that, actually. That's a good move. The second best move, but it's quite a bit in score second, is knight to e1. And I think the more human move is d7, but Dominguez decided not to do that. If he had gone d7, rook here, knight g5, starting to look good for white. You know, he's not winning by any means, but it's looking good. You know, knight to e1 instead, queen to c1, looking, of course, to trade. f4. Computer likes that as well. Releases the bishop, covering some key squares here and here. Maybe later down the road threaten the bishop. Queen to b1. Queen takes d2 was a choice of the computer. And after rook takes, rook to c5. And that would keep black alive. But he decided to go queen to b1. So he just sidesteps that pin with king to f2. Now I think white is out of any danger they might have been in. For those of you that are wondering about bishop takes b7, rook to c2, queen b4, rook takes, and white loses. king to f2, rook to c2, queen to b4. It looks like white's piling on here. Jakovenko's having trouble. Rook d8. That pawn on d6 is just a monster. He's got to keep it corralled. Bishop b4. Bishop g4. Knight takes. Pawn takes. Now he's thinking he's okay. Right? I mean, he's really okay. What to do? What to do? Queen to a4. He's looking to push the pawn. Rook to c8 is the computer's choice. He went king to f8. He was low on time. We're on move 30. It's such a shame, too. The desperation move would have been queen to c8. Give you an idea. Queen takes, bishop takes. It's up 2 full pawns. I mean, the game's still over. But after king to f8, he pushes the pawn finally to d7. Bishop has to take it. Now, what would you do here as white? Rook takes, queen takes. Queen a3 check is the computer's choice, but a close second is rook takes, and that's what Dominguez does. Black queens. Very rarely do you see super grandmaster games with double queens. And here comes the killer. Now, pause the video now. I think all of us would have played bishop takes the queen on b1. I think so sincerely. And that draws. But the winning move, stop the video now if you don't want to see the winning move. The winning move is queen to a3 check. Those of you that are wondering, after bishop takes queen, you go through the thing here, it's a draw. But after queen to a3, king to g8, bishop takes the queen now, g6, much different. Much different. Making some loot for his king. Queen to b3, there it is. Queen to c5 check, e3. And that's it, as Jennifer Shahadi says, buenos, no checks. You're down a piece in a pawn. The game's over. You have no attack on the white king, even though he looks exposed. He's in good shape. So a hell of a win there by Dominguez. I like Linear a lot, actually. He's kind of a cool guy. Anyway, folks, there's the only decisive game from round 2 of the 4th in a series of Grand Prix tournaments for the qualification for the World Championship. I hope you enjoyed it. I want you to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.